Today we're here with Michelle Spencer, who is an attorney. We use her for a lot of our real estate matters, but today we're going to be having kind of a kitchen table conversation about being a grown-up and what you need in life to cover yourself legally. So Michelle, a lot of our clients, they've just done a real estate transaction with us. We all make a great team together, but we closed, and that opens up a whole new can of worms about things that you need to protect yourself about in life. So some of the things I think that people ask us about is what we need to do about owning the property with a spouse, how to handle wills, how to handle what happens if something happens to somebody medically. So let's dive into just some of the things that are like adulting things that you need to do in your life to protect yourself.
And I would characterize all of these terms as calling the estate planning process.
Right.
And standard people usually need the simple estate planning, as they say, which encompasses a last will and testament, a living will, and a power of attorney. And they're like the three basic documents that you get when you do simple estate planning. The last will and testament deals with how a person would want their property to be distributed upon their death. So their property and their assets, who they would want that to go to as a beneficiary. In the will, you would name a personal representative or an executor, and that would be the person that'll facilitate and foresee those distributions when you die. It's also important because if you have minor children, in the simple will, you'll also name what they call a guardian and a trustee, and they would be the caregivers to stand in your shoes to raise the child, to their age of majority in your absence. If you don't have a last will and testament, or a major reason of importance for the last will and testament is if you pass away without one, then your beneficiaries, your next of kin, will have to go to court to have someone appointed to be a representative of the estate. And in that time of grieving and sadness, when you're sad of the loss of someone, the last thing you want to have to do is have to go to court to spend upwards of $10,000 to have somebody appointed to facilitate things that you should have your wishes detailed.
So we just talked about the last will and testament, but something else is a living will. So tell us how that's different and what does that mean exactly?
Correct. So a living will is, again, another legal document that deals more with your choices of when you're alive, but you're incapacitated or you're unable to speak for yourself to say those wishes. So it guides loved ones and the doctors of what you want your choices to be. It's distinguishable from the will because it governs you and your choices, where the will control your assets and your property. This is kind of specifically what you want to have happen to your body medically, decisions to be made.
I've had a few clients, I do notary as well, so I've had a few people come to me with these documents like just before a surgery or something like that, to where they really want to just spell out, I'm having hip surgery, and just in case something happens, this is what I want to happen. So
and you
really important.
A personal representative on that document also that would essentially stand in your shoes and be your mouthpiece for those decisions. So peace of mind.
Super important. Yeah.
And do you recommend having these hard conversations with the person you delegate? I found from personal experience, having been the person that was appointed, that I really wanted my siblings to know what my parents' wishes were. And that living will gave me the ability to say, look, this is what they wanted. I'm just doing what they wanted to happen. And it really made for a lot of peace and tranquility with the rest of the family. So it definitely is something that you as an adult will do to make things better for those other people that are in really a hard spot.
Correct. And you should share, once you execute everything and then memorialize it, make sure that you share that information with the people that you name, whether it's the executor or the representative in the living will, as well as even in the will, the guardians who you designate to care for the children, so they know if something happens, that you guys have been, I've honored you with this appointment, and please be ready for it.
That's a nice way to put it. I've honored you with this appointment. It's not like, surprise, here are your 3 children now. That's right. Very good. All right, awesome. And I think the last thing you covered was power of attorney. So what is that and how does it work?
So the power of attorney has we call it a durable power of attorney. It's kind of got two components to it, where it's got a medical component where it lets the named representative stand in the shoes of the person, but it also has kind of like the business component to it, where you can take it to a financial institution, or if you say a car loan or something. It gives a person authority to act in various aspects of their life.
Gotcha.
To help, kind of facilitate in their absence, whether they're incapacitated or they just, they can't communicate, they're not mentally there. It helps them, kind of keep the ball rolling in those various activities.
Okay. And then also, I believe there's specific power of attorney, right? Because let's say, for example, I was out of the country and my house was closing. So I gave my mother specific power of attorney to actually sign the closing documents for me.
Correct.
So there are times when you can use it temporarily.
Yes, just temporarily. And for instance, with the real estate example, our office has a specific power of attorney for the sale of real estate. And it specifically says that for the sale of, 123 Main Street. And you give power for the attorney or a named person to stand in your shoes, to sign any closing documents, make any decisions on your behalf in your absence. Yes.
I have one more question. And you can, when we have children that are 18 and they're going off to college and maybe they're going out of state, what do we have to do?
Good. That's something that we've been seeing in the recent years, especially with the HIPAA laws and how medical laws have changed. When children become 18, they're considered adults. So we've been guiding clients to say, if you have a child going off to college, or not even just staying home, but turning that legal age of 18, it would be of their best interest to have a power of attorney and a living will where they designate a personal representative to stand in, their stead, where they're not, if gosh forbid, worst case scenario happens and they're not able to speak for themselves.
So if something happened, what would the parents then have to do, or the guardians have to do? Would they have to go to court to be appointed?
Correct. Yes. If they didn't have these documents, they would have to apply to the court to be named a guardian, which would then give them the authority to act on their behalf. And in that time of need, when you're likely going to need those decision making, and sometimes quick decision making, to have to apply to the court, pay the thousands of dollars to facilitate that, you might not. The time is of the essence in that sense. So it's better to be prepared now for the worst case scenario in the future.
Yeah. All great tips. The other tip I got from someone was scan these, email them, keep them handy, because the last thing you want it to be in is a safe deposit box in a bank, and you can't get to it until Monday morning. So
Correct.
There's a lot of great things that technology has brought us.
Thanks for joining us today, where we talked about adulting and all of the legal documents that you need to make sure that you have a happy and easy life. So if you want more information about any of the legal things that we just discussed, you can reach out to Michelle Spencer.
Mm-hmm. You can reach me at the office, Castano, Quigley, Cherami, mspencer at cqclaw.com, or my phone, 973-808-1234.
And I'm Darcy Hunter. You can reach me at 973-907-6042 for all your real estate needs.
And I'm Vera Lewandowski. You can reach me at 973-615-3960.